Today you're going to find out what's really going to happen to Poppy in Chapter 5. But that's not all. We'll also dive into why she left us right before the explosion, what actually led to that, and how the prototype is making her question everything she believed in, and everything she tried to make us believe. But first, let's take a quick dive into the history. The main events kicked off in Chapter 3 after our encounter with Poppy, where she revealed the core problem of Playtime Co. during her monologue.
Listen, I'm not your enemy, but I can't just let you leave. What's happening down here is bigger than all of us, and I need you, so we can get revenge on those monsters who've tortured you, who've tortured us. They didn't act alone. They're disciples of the original, the prototype.
So we were totally convinced that the prototype is our enemy number one, while Poppy is 100% our ally. But now, I'm not so sure anymore. Anyway, then Poppy revealed the secret of the Hour of Joy, which was led by the prototype. This event completely shattered her connection with him and split Playtime Co. into two camps, those who sided with the prototype and those desperate to escape. After that, Poppy added,
They killed everyone. The guilty, the innocent, didn't matter. All that death didn't fix anything. And then, once it was all over, they dragged those corpses down below where they'd never be found. And they ate the bodies to stay alive. The prototype has to die for this. For everything.
Then came the attack on Kissy, and it seemed like there were no doubts left. We were doing the right thing. Then we descended into that very prison, and that's where things got really interesting. After meeting Dowie, we found a surviving Kissy and Poppy, and that's when things really started to heat up. If the first part of this video was more of an introduction, now it's time to really pay attention. Together with Poppy, we make our way to Safe Haven, where she talks to us once again. But unlike her previous words, which we'll come back to later, her monologue in Safe Haven is filled with determination, and, to some extent, absurdity.
I need to make this right. What I said on the elevator, it's true. The orphans weren't killed during the Hour of Joy. They were taken. They're below, in the labs. The prototype's home. They are alive, but sleeping. They're with him. And he knows we're here. So, if we're going to free them and stop the prototype, we need to plan for both at the same time. The red smoke you redirected from Playcare? It's an accelerant. All it needs is high pressure and a little spark, and it ignites. The plan is this. We'll fill the foundation with smoke and line it with old mining charges. Then once you, me, and Kissy have freed the orphans, our friends here will blow this place sky high. That's our revenge.
And this is where we start noticing that Poppy's way of thinking is way too simplistic. She talks as if the prototype will just let us walk in, take everyone, and then blow up Playtime Co., his own home. This is the moment I started realizing that something was definitely off with Poppy. It's like she's obsessed with something. Poppy doesn't see the risks and has no real understanding of the consequences of her plan. And Dowie notices it too.
The toys out there in Safe Haven, they're my family. I understand what Poppy wants, what she believes is right. Destroy the factory, destroy him. But I ask you to consider, if we throw everything away, everyone, just to kill the prototype, how much do we waste? I know the others might believe it's right, that we should bury everything, but let's just think about it.
And as we later realize, Dowie was right. Poppy's blind faith in her plan didn't just lead to failure, it led to the complete destruction of one of her own allies, the downfall of Safe Haven, and even greater aggression from the prototype toward us, Poppy, Kissy, and pretty much every other ally we had, if we even have any left. All of this became the key turning points that led to her escape. Poppy was absolutely terrified. Her world crumbled in just a matter of minutes, and everything she believed in turned to dust after the craziest conversation in Poppy playtime history.
Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Who is this?
An obvious question with an obvious answer.
You have nothing now. No one. And soon, you'll have less than that.
Stop that.
You don't need to pretend anymore.
Poppy. You don't need to play at being stronger than you are.
You can come home.
How much do you know?
Everything.
This isn't right. All those years. Was there ever an Ollie? Yes, there was.
But that was
A very long time ago. Let me tell you what comes next.
I'm going to come up there, and I'm going to find you.
Your collaborators, the few you have left, they will be dealt with.
This entire time, you've lied to me!
Only because you've kept
Missing the
point. Always been about you.
and we'll harm you.
What we are. That's not a truth that can be
Burnt away. No, not when it can mean so much more. It's time to come home.
I can't go back in the case. I can't. I'm sorry.
And this is it, the moment when Poppy completely lost any hope of salvation. The prototype utterly destroyed all her goals, all her friends, everything she had left. At this point, it becomes pretty obvious why Poppy ran away, leaving the player and Kissy alone with the explosives. She was simply terrified. She was lost, completely overwhelmed by fear, desperate to avoid being locked back in that box. It was a mix of emotions: fear, hatred, betrayal, lies. All of it pushed poor Poppy to just abandon us in what seemed like a death trap. But let's be clear, she didn't betray us, and soon you'll see why. She just needed time to process everything, to figure out how to fix the mess we were in. Before we dive into what's going to happen to Poppy in Chapter 5 and prove why she's not a traitor, we need to understand where all this deep hatred toward the prototype actually comes from. After all, the Hour of Joy was meant to free the toys from the cruelty of Playtime Co.'s employees. And to crack this mystery, one VHS tape is going to help us a lot.
I didn't want... This wasn't what I thought we were gonna leave. Leave the factory. Not this. All those people. Prototype says we can't leave. Not now, not ever. I hate him. I hate him, and I hate this place, and I hate that he's... right. He explained everything, and he's right. We can't leave. It's too risky. What they did to us, we can't ever let it happen to us or anyone ever again. Doesn't make me feel better about the bodies, though. What he was saying about them. I know there's not really another option. The toys will starve otherwise. They'll die. But it's still disgusting.
And now we realize that Poppy and the prototype were once friends, but the aftermath of the Hour of Joy affected them in completely different ways. Poppy wanted to escape, but to be fair, the prototype had a solid reason to convince her otherwise. If they left Playtime Co., all those horrors could just repeat themselves at another factory, under another company. Poppy was completely against consuming the dead employees, even though it was the only way to survive, while the prototype had no problem doing whatever it took. And when the employees were gone, Poppy's own allies started disappearing. That was the breaking point. the moment Playtime Co. truly became hell. That's why Poppy will never forgive or side with the prototype, meaning all those theories about her betraying us or teaming up with him for survival are pure nonsense. In Chapter 5, Poppy will most likely be searching for any remaining allies, and honestly, we still don't know who's left in her so-called reserves. I think after her escape, she'll figure out a way to fix everything and go looking for her lost friends. And maybe, just maybe, one of them will play a key role in the final battle against the prototype. There's a theory that Chapter 5 will be the grand finale of Poppy Playtime, so this kind of setup makes total sense. I believe Poppy will come up with a plan to rescue the orphans, destroy Playtime Co., and while we're at it, take down the prototype once and for all, which, let's be real, would be a huge win. Or, the prototype could just kidnap Poppy and throw her right back into that box. But even if that happens, her role will still be absolutely crucial. But for now, these are just theories, because the real truth will only be revealed after the release of Chapter 5, which I assume will drop at the end of January 2026. That's all for now. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.